Join us for the Maybes and make a statement with daytime avant-garde attire. This is your chance to slay the fashion game while celebrating the unsung heroes in our community. Girl, what is daytime avant-garde? Girl, it's bold, daring, and oh so chic. Think vibrant colors, asymmetrical cuts, artistic flair, and accessories that scream, "Look at me now!" Whether it's a dramatic hat, a statement blazer, or shoes that sparkle like your personality, this is your time to shine at the Maybes on February the 8th, 2025. See you there.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. It's Happy Monday. My name is Evelyn Stampley, and I am the producer of the Mavy Awards. So you may be asking, if you don't know yet, what are the Mavy Awards? The Mavy Award is an event that was founded by our founder, Erica Porter, who felt that there was a need to recognize volunteers who do a lot of work, but oftentimes are not recognized. And so Erica went through the process to be able to offer and nominate adults who volunteer, children as well, for the Presidential Volunteer Service Award. So as a result of that, we are hosting our very first, you see the number one, very first Mavy Awards that will be held on Saturday, February 8th at the South Shore Cultural Center. So I hope to see you guys there. The tickets are going fast. We have until Sunday to sell. So I'm hoping that we will see you, that you will come and celebrate with our honorees. This evening, I am excited again to bring on yet another fantastic honoree, very well deserving, and who's also considered a friend of mine. I have known him for years, none other than our own Mr. Leonard Mcgee. Good evening, Mr. Leonard. How are you?
Good evening. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm good. Good to be seen.
Nowadays at my age, that's
yeah, mine too. Yeah, mine too. That's okay. It's mine too. So I wanted to say congratulations for getting nominated and winning a Mavy honoree, as well as the Presidential Volunteer Service Award. Guys, I have known Leonard over 30 years. Leonard, has it been?
I would say, yeah. How old is your son?
He's 31.
So I think I knew you before he was born.
Yes, you did. So maybe 35, 36 years, you all, I'm not sure. But Leonard and I are members of Apostolic Church of God. That's where I met him. And from the first day, and that was back in the 80s, Leonard Mcgee was always a person that wanted to help. His methods were interesting sometimes, but his heart was always the same. So that's why I'm really, really excited for you this year, Leonard, that you get the recognition that you have deserved forever. And I understand that for you on your end, how you feel, you love to serve. So amen for that. But I'm still happy that you got the award. So congratulations again.
Humbly, I say thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome from all of us at the Maybes. So I guess I want to start with you. How did the route to volunteerism and being involved civically in your community, when were those seeds planted for you?
They've been planted since I was born.
Okay.
When you look back at my history, it started with my grandfather, who is the founder of the Apostolic Church of God, which is Walter C. Clemens. It was passed down through me through my parents, Elizabeth L. Mcgee, along with Reverend Robert J. Mcgee, my father. And my father, if anybody knows about the TWO organization, the Greater Woodlawn organization, my father actually was the founding president of that organization.
Did not know that.
There's a lot of stuff. And so I grew up in it, not knowing it, coming fully aware of it early on, working in the community. I work in the Gap Community Organization in Chicago, which until last year, I was the president off and on for 30 years. and I was giving a speech at IIT. I was getting an award, and my parents were sitting in the audience. I had this nice speech written up saying how great I was, and et cetera, et cetera. And it dawned on me as I stood there and changed the whole thing and says, I'm only here because of my parents. And my parents planted the seed. And not all what they said is what they did. It's how they work with other people. I grew up in the church. And in doing so, we worked in the kitchen. We worked picking up paper. We washed dishes. We spent our summers, not summers, but our vacation Bible school was always doing cleanup week back in the day when the fourth day of the fourth week of the month was called cleanup week in Chicago. Well, when there was cleanup week, we took our clothes, go to church. We started at 8 o'clock. We got back home at 11 o'clock, and we spent the whole day at church. And during that whole time, we took clothes to change because we could go outside and play and come back. So
that's fantastic.
And through that, what we did is we learned to cook, clean, whatever you had to do. And we were part of that. And that I saw my father help volunteer in my neighborhood where I grew up. He was a leader in that process. I watched my father as I went through grammar school. My father was the president of PTA.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and we're talking back in the 60s. But what I saw was service. Yeah. And when you help somebody, it's actually very rewarding to know that you've been put in a position that you can help somebody. And in doing that, it becomes contagious because you just, you need help. How can I help you? I even say, even in my job, I say, hello, how are you? Welcome to the organization I work for. And I'll say, how can I help you? And it's also a way of disarming someone who is not on the good foot that day or may have had a bad day because they're looking for an argument. And say, how may I help you? And they're like, what do you mean? Just tell me how I can help you. And in the church, I've had a tremendous opportunity to grow in a ministry from the ground up, which was called Saving Grace Ministries. And in that, I had skills that I did not know I had. I used to do recordings when I was in college of graduate students who were working on how they present to students. And one thing we did, we recorded those and played them back. I never, ever thought that I'd ever use it again until along comes along Saving Grace Ministries and helping out in there, from pulling cable to training people to really having an opportunity to do engineering, camera work. The only thing I didn't ever do in Saving Grace, I never did editing. But having to do producing and then help other people.
You did. Yes, you did.
Well,
you did editing with me. We did two times. It was one time when I think it was the Easter concert that we had to get to Val the next day. And you were editing, you were with me. We were with Bruce. And then the second time
I was producing at that point.
That's true. Technically, that's true.
I told Bruce, and I remember this real clear. Evelyn wanted to do a certain kind of move at the end of the program.
Yes, at the end,
And we wanted to do a squeeze off to the side, run the credits.
And run the credits,
And run the credits with a replay of the music on the background. And the guy who was her mentor as an editor, well, we never done that before. I said, well, we're doing it today because that's what she's the editor. That's what she wants to do. So we'll show her how we get this done. It's real simple.
He was a little upset. He was a little upset with us later that night.
Well, it's okay to get upset. Just get it done. And
it was late.
And so from my perspective, that's what you want to do. And it was a good idea. We've seen it done on television before in every movie.
And it worked, right?
And it worked.
To try it, yeah.
And the real inside joke on that is Valerie never looked at it.
You told me that because we were at the church until almost midnight.
And we had to get it to Federal Express, so we had to get the last drop
Yes,
off at Federal
yes,
Express and go
yes.
downtown when what Federal Express was now called the near west side of downtown.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be Old Skid Row, what it really was,
Yep,
and
yep.
upgraded. And the Lord blessed us to get it done. I mean, that's just one of,
Yes,
you
we
know,
did.
and I can look back and say, it was the grace of God. It was the right thing to do at the right time. And Bruce felt he was in charge. And I told him, no, I was left in charge
He
doing
was.
this. And I
Yeah.
think I even directed the program.
Yes.
And then turned around and helped as a, number two in the producing it. And the Lord allowed us to get it done. It was a good
Yeah.
idea. And based upon a good idea, hey, let's execute it. If it doesn't
Yes.
work, we can always go back and run credits the old-fashioned way.
Yes.
And that day, I think that's probably the only program we've ever done that had the credit squeezed to the side.
Yes. It was a good idea, wasn't it?
It was.
We had a good time. We had a good time. And
But it was the grace of God. I mean, that's what it was. But volunteerism is what I learned to do and learned to appreciate when you can help someone else. And unbeknownst to most people, I actually get credit for it. But my credit is in heaven. It's not on earth. And to see someone, right, and that's where moth nor no one can destroy that through fire or destruction, because it's in God's hands. It's not in my hands or humans' hands. But volunteerism is something I've learned to do. Like I said, I saw my father. They did the first sit-in on Willis wagons through the TWO.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that's how it started. And that was, they were protesting against schools. And that's when the Black community would get a mobile home to do schooling in, and the white community would get a brand new building. And that's the reason they went, and they were called Willis wagons. And I never forget that, because my parents were there, not just my father, but also my mother. And so we learned to stand up and be counted for. And in doing so, even today, I still ascribe to doing that and helping other people. It's a blessing. If you see someone succeeding because you help them, you get a lift in knowing that person, not to be dependent, is to help them become independent and moving forward. Even just to say, hey, you're doing a good job. He said, well, I don't think I'm telling you, you're doing a good job. Not with a backhand, but just straight up, you're doing a good job.
I also remember, and I know I have another couple of questions, but I got to tell you this part. I remember when we brought in volunteer children, high schoolers, to work in the control room. And by the time we finished training them, that was your Wednesday night Bible study crew, all teenagers, every single one of them.
I can go back. There's one person, and I should reach out to him. His name is Fred Brown Jr.
Yes, he's in California.
Fred Brown was an audio tech for us for a very long time. His son, he raised his son by himself from birth. And so he used to bring his son. And I said, well, you're in here, you might as well do something. So I, taught him how to switch on the board. Yeah. And he was, I think, 7 or 8 years old. Mm-hmm. And then one Sunday, we didn't have a TD. And I said, sit down. Sit down, Fred. He said, no. Everybody said, you can't do that. I'm in charge. Sit down, Fred. He sat down and he did the whole program with very few mistakes. And then later on, I got chastised and actually criticized for why would you let that 9-year-old, 8-year-old do it? And I said, well,
he did well.
In Block 37, there were kids who were doing the same thing with equipment through Chicago public school system who had more sophisticated equipment than we did. So then all of a sudden, they raised the age to 14. Yeah. And then to me, that was not good, because I had little Fred at 8 or 9, so he doesn't mind coming in because he now puts that on his regular schedule.
Right.
Okay. Then I had my friend Clarence, I don't know his right name now, but Clarence, which was your son, said, come on in. I mean, the parent is here. They got to do something, put them to work, get them involved. Clarence started TDing. And then all of a sudden, he wanted to do it because he was welcomed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the key thing is, no, welcome. Even today. I mean, I used to direct every Sunday till I got in trouble. And I went through a lot with that. But the bottom line is, I'm thankful because just 2 weeks ago, I was at a funeral and someone talked about the television program on WCIU, how they had watched it for years with Bishop Brazier as the pastor. Yeah. And the beauty of it was, she said, I would drive home back and forth. I was going to Northern Illinois and I'd listen to you all. Yeah. So she was also listening because we were on the radio at one time. But that brings joy to your heart. At one time I was going to even quit the ministry. And I was going to quit it. I was just frustrated. I was fed up. I've been beat on, drugged through the coals and all that. Went to a Friday night prayer service. And a young lady had just got out the hospital. And she said, I've been in the hospital for 6 weeks. And I said, Lord, when I get out of here, I'm going to that church. So she gave her testimony in a Friday night prayer meeting. And based upon that, I realized the work I was doing was to God's glory. And you don't know who you're going to impact, including in volunteerism. I try to help a lot of people. And I do it not because I want something from them, is that I have been so blessed. I've been given so many gifts that I don't want to be like, there's a parable in the Bible that talks about he gave one 5 talent, he gave one 3 talent, he gave 1 talent. Well, I don't want to be like the lady with the 1 talent, where he took it back.
Because she didn't use it.
I want to be like the person with the 5 or 3, where he multiplied that and gave the other. And that's what I want to be able to do. And that's what I want to represent. And the heritage of my grandfather. My grandfather, I was with the Sounds of Praise in Detroit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
At David Ellis's as a chaperone. And trust me, the adults were worse than the children.
A lot of times, I understand.
And what David Ellis did is, when we sang on Sunday afterwards, they feed dinner to everybody. And he said, no, you come sit at the table with my family. And it was also my sister. And I'm trying to figure out, why are you doing this? We can sit with everybody. He says, no, you don't understand. When we were hungry and had nothing during the Depression, your grandfather came and dropped off groceries. Okay, now I heard it from him. I even heard it from his brother, Willie Ellis, who was the president, who was the pastor at
Morgan Park.
The park, they call it the park, but he was a pastor at the park at one time. But those kinds of things represented my heritage. Yep. And in my heritage is being a volunteer, because the true word of volunteer in my case is being a servant. Being a servant to me is very important. And that's no different than what the Lord did. He was a servant. And that's what I do. I serve. I help people. What do I want in return? I don't want anything in return. If you can help somebody else, just remember, don't forget that somebody helped you.
Yeah.
Wherever you get to, always remember to have a lifeline to say, not to save them, just to help them. Yeah. And to me, you can always find a kind word to say just hello and how are you doing? And watch this, not just how are you doing, but stop and listen to find out how they're really doing versus, oh, how you doing, and keep walking.
Yeah.
But to me, the blessing is to say, okay, I heard what you're saying. I can't change your situation, but what I can do, I can pray. which changes the whole situation, because
Every
now
time.
I'm dependent, not on myself, I'm dependent on God's mercy and God's grace.
Amen. Leonard, I knew we would have time to talk, and I knew I have another question. And normally we're already kind of down the road, but I just have one more question before we go. You talked about how you were born into volunteerism pretty much, and that it has been around you like your entire life. So we get that part. But in the day and time that we live in now, do you think that volunteerism should be, because unfortunately a lot of kids, they're not raised to give and to serve. So for those kids and adults, how do we convince them to, just give back a little bit? You don't have to do a lot, but just help, because that one help helps somebody else. How do we convince them the importance behind volunteerism?
We have to show them. You have to show them by leading them.
Okay.
And by leading them is you have to, people in Saving Grace, when I came along, how did they get there? They didn't get there through servanthood connection. We stopped people in the hallway and said, hey, would you like to help?
You sure did. Yep.
Okay, and here's the key thing about it. When you ask people to help, 9 times out of 10, they're going to help, because they don't want to be turned down if they sign up and you don't ever call them up.
Yeah.
And when you actually say, hey, I need, and the word is real key here. I need your help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you tell somebody, I need your help, there's something that triggers off in the back of their mind to try to say, oh, let me see how this works out.
Yeah.
And you got to show them, and you got to let them make mistakes, because making mistakes is growing, not failure.
Yeah.
I work in a TV ministry, and I'll tell somebody, if you make a mistake switching on the board, just don't switch again right away. People at home don't know. Now, if you switch back and the pitcher flip in 3 seconds, 3 or 4 times, they know something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But if you end up on the wrong shot, just we'll wait 5 seconds and we'll go to another shot. And that 5 seconds is what was going to go to another shot anyway. And 9 times
nobody else sees that.
And 9 times out of 10, when you go back and look, it was the Lord that moved the shot and made it work. So the thing is, if we want young people to volunteer, we have to ask them, because they're not going to run to your door.
Excuse me.
You have to ask them. If you don't, they're not running to your door.
No.
But if you ask them, they'll say, okay, how can I help you?
Yes.
And then you let them know, and then don't abuse them.
Very true. Very true.
I mean, the thing is, so you know what? You've helped me for a half hour, 15, 20 minutes, or 30 minutes. Right now, I need you to go do something else. And you can come back. No, I want to stay. Now, when they decide they want to stay, they're staying because they want to stay, not because you've been a taskmaster over them.
And made them stay. Yeah.
Right. And the key thing is asking even adults. Adults want to help, but they don't want to be rejected.
You're right. Absolutely.
And that rejection it just cuts to the soul, because they've been rejected before. So I'm not going to volunteer because I've been rejected when I tried to volunteer. So mine is,
that's true.
Mine is to get young people to volunteer is show them. And you got to show them not when they're 9 and 10, 11, 12 years old. That's a little too late, because they got their little friends and they got their little cliques and they having a good time. You show them when they're 6 and 7 years old, they continue that from 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and going up. But if you try to get them to volunteer at 14, they don't have a pattern of volunteerism. And if their parents don't volunteer, they're not more inclined to do it. True. My parents volunteered. Sometimes I was drugged to volunteering, and then I learned to enjoy volunteering.
Yeah.
And that's inside the church. But I would say mainly, if you want young people involved, you got to invite them in and allow them to watch this. Be young people.
There you go. I agree. Okay. There you go.
And being young people means don't forget you made mistakes too. And what happens is adults get to the point and says, Well, he can't do so and so. You didn't come out the womb being as good as you think you are.
There you go. Very true. Very, very true.
And that's where it comes in. If you want young people to volunteer, or even old people, you've got to say, hey, listen, I need your help with a heart of sincerity. And with that heart of sincerity, by the grace of God, Lord will change their heart to say, okay, I'm going to help you out.
Okay. Well, Leonard, if anyone wanted to get in touch with you to talk about volunteerism in any of the organizations you are a part of, how could they reach you?
You can reach me. I'll give you my cell number, 312-316-8878. Text me first. Give me your name because you're not in my phone, not yet. And if I can help you, if I can't help you directly, I'm quite certain there's 5,000 numbers in my Rolodex. There's somebody I know that knows somebody that I know that knows somebody else that know that can help you. And I'll tell them I sent you, because I'm not going to hold you accountable. I'm going to hold accountable the person I sent you to. Did you help them? Because the person I sent you to, I guarantee you probably I helped them. I'm not looking for personal payback, but don't forget that you didn't get to where you were on your own. Everything I got, everything I've earned has been by the grace of God. And it's been through somebody helping me. I'm a real good public speaker. I'm a very poor writer. But as a public speaker, my public speaking started where?
In the church.
In the church.
Easter speeches.
In the Sunday school program for Easter speeches. The birds are busy and so are the bees.
Yep.
Okay. And my Sunday school teacher, who is still living today, is 99 years old. Her name is Sister McCall. And that seed that was planted in Sunday school and in church, being around the church, being a drug baby, and drug baby in this case, so you understand what that means. That means a kid who went to church.
Yes.
That's the person who went to church all the time because their parents drug you there. But all that dragging paid off, because today I can say I know how to help people. I know how to lead, but I'm real good at following.
That's good.
I'm real good at following.
Well,
and based upon that, if you want to reach me, my number again, 312-316-8878. You can follow me. I'm kind of old, so you can follow me on Facebook. You can follow me on Instagram. You can find me on Snap. You can find me on LinkedIn. All those things are right there. And part of that is, if I can help you, not personally, I may know someone else who can also help you.
That's right.
And that is, and the reason for that is only because of the grace of God.
Amen.
If you think I'm good, it's because I'm trying to imitate and mimic God's grace and God's being a servant to God Almighty, Jesus Christ.
That's wonderful. L. Mcgee, which is my nickname for you, L. Mcgee.
I don't know where you got that from, but anyway.
I don't either. It just happened one Sunday. I saw you at church and it just kind of stuck with me. But I am, again, honored to have interviewed you, have been knowing you so many years. And a lot of the things that you said, I was privy to. I saw where you would help people. I even remember when you used to invite people. Was it Father's Day? I think you would invite folks to come to Father's Day dinner with you and your family. All of that, I've been privy to it, so I've seen it. And
with that inviting to dinner, just so you understand.
You said what?
If you understand, up until a few years ago.
Okay.
We have had Thanksgiving dinner and inviting people over. Back from my grandfather for over 70 years.
Wow, that's impressive.
Now the current generation, that generation that's behind me, they got a little more independence going. So we don't have it like we used to. But for over 70 years in our family, we had Thanksgiving dinner, and that's because the church started as a family church.
Yeah.
And part of the issue is there were people coming in who didn't have any family, And my grandfather would say, you come on, go with us. You can sit at our table, so you will not be alone on Thanksgiving. You'll have somewhere to go. Or you won't be alone on Christmas because you have nowhere to go. That's where that started from.
Wow. Wow.
So it goes back to 1932. Because that's when the church was founded.
Mm-hmm. That's something.
But I could talk all day, but you got to go.
Yeah, we're running out of time. We're running out of time, but I do want to.
You ran out of time. You ain't running out of time. You ran out. You're going to cut this thing up.
I'm being nice. We're running out of time. But
God
Leonard,
bless
thank you for getting on with us and talking with us. And I'll see you on the 8th, or probably before that, but I'll see you on the 8th to celebrate you and the other Mavy honorees, okay? Thanks.
God bless you. Love you.
Hang out with us for a little while. All right, you're welcome.
God
I see the bow tie too. All right, see you later. All right, bye-bye.
Please, allow me to show you something.